Leviticus Chapter 13. The Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, When a person has a swelling, scab, or bright spot on the skin of their body, and it appears to be a mark of leprosy, they shall be brought to Aaron the priest or to one of his sons, the priests. The priest shall examine the mark on the skin of the body. If the hair in the affected area has turned white, and the mark appears to be deeper than the skin, it is a mark of leprosy. The priest shall examine the person and pronounce them unclean. If the mark on the skin is white but does not appear deeper than the skin, and if the hair is not white, the priest shall isolate the person for 7 days. On the 7th day, the priest shall examine the mark again. If the mark has not spread and does not appear deeper than the skin, the priest shall isolate the person for 7 more days. On the 7th day of the second isolation, if the mark has faded and has not spread on the skin, the priest shall pronounce the person clean. It is a scab, and they shall wash their clothes and be clean. However, if the scab spreads after the person has been pronounced clean, the priest shall re-examine them. If the scab has indeed spread, the priest shall pronounce the person unclean. It is leprosy. When a person has a mark of leprosy, they shall be brought to the priest. The priest shall examine the person. If the mark is white and the hair has turned white, and there is raw flesh in the area of the mark, it is an old leprosy on the skin of the body, and the priest shall pronounce the person unclean. They shall not be isolated, for they are unclean. If, however, the mark spreads on the skin after being examined by the priest and it covers all the skin from head to foot, wherever the priest looks, and if the mark has covered the entire body, the priest shall pronounce the person with the mark clean. It has all turned white, and they are clean. But if raw flesh appears on the person, they shall be unclean. The priest shall examine the raw flesh and pronounce the person unclean. It is leprosy. Or if the raw flesh changes and turns white, the person shall come to the priest. The priest shall examine them. If the mark has turned white, the priest shall pronounce the person with the mark clean. They are clean. When a person has a boil on their skin and it heals, and in the place of the boil there is a white or bright spot, somewhat reddish, which is shown to the priest. If the priest examines it, and it appears to be deeper than the skin, and if the hair has turned white, the priest shall pronounce the person unclean. It is a mark of leprosy that has broken out from the boil. But if, when the priest examines it, there are no white hairs in it, and it is not deeper than the skin but appears dark, the priest shall isolate the person for 7 days. If the spot spreads on the skin, the priest shall pronounce the person unclean. It is a mark of leprosy. If, however, the spot remains in its place and does not spread, it is the scar from the boil, and the priest shall pronounce the person clean. If a man or woman has a mark on the head or beard, the priest shall examine the mark. If it appears to be deeper than the skin and there is thin yellow hair in it, the priest shall pronounce the person unclean. It is a dry scale, a mark of leprosy on the head or beard. If the priest examines the mark and it does not appear deeper than the skin, and there is no black hair in it, the priest shall isolate the person with the mark for 7 days. On the 7th day, the priest shall examine the mark. If the mark has not spread and there is no yellow hair in it, and it does not appear deeper than the skin, the person shall shave, but not shave the mark. The priest shall isolate the person with the mark for 7 more days. On the 7th day of the second isolation, if the mark has not spread on the skin and does not appear deeper than the skin, the priest shall pronounce the person clean. They shall wash their clothes and be clean. But if the mark spreads after being pronounced clean, and the priest examines it, and it appears to be deeper than the skin, the priest shall pronounce the person unclean. It is a mark of leprosy.